Oh my gosh, guys, it's the Golden Amethyst Warden. It has a 0.0001% chance of spawning.
These are the funniest fake Minecraft speedruns of all time. This first speedrun begins with the runner immediately locating a nearby shipwreck. And while the shipwreck itself is not suspicious at all, the runner actually just cheated. However, it doesn't have anything to do with the runner's inventory, as he is selecting the very first slot. And it also isn't the runner's spawn, as he is facing completely straight. But it actually has to do with this speedrunner's world generation. Because if you look closely at the runner's home screen, you can clearly see that he's playing in Minecraft 1.12. The problem is, shipwrecks were not released into Minecraft until the aquatic update in version 1.13. This actually means the footage of him generating his world and the footage of his spawn are clips from two completely different versions, and the runner has just cheated by cutting his video. And this could mean the runner is actually using a set seed, so keep it in mind for later. So, after locating a nearby shipwreck, the speedrun begins with the runner collecting wood from a nearby tree, mining some cobblestone to create a couple of tools, and making his way to the nearby shipwreck. But as the speedrunner is swimming towards it, did you catch that? At this frame, you can actually see the runner mysteriously loses 3 bars of hunger. The only explanation for this is that there was yet another cut in the recording, which will make more sense in a few seconds. So, the runner enters the shipwreck, and surprisingly, all 3 chests contain loot that is 100% normal. So why would the speedrunner cut his footage just a few seconds ago? Well, that's because the runner then finds a 4th chest, and this is clearly impossible, as shipwrecks can only spawn with a maximum of 3 chests. So, the runner clearly cut his footage so he could go off camera, place an extra chest in this shipwreck, and try to pretend that nothing happened. So, the runner goes to open the 4th chest, and it actually looks fairly normal, as the runner finds some iron ingots, carrots, and wood planks. All standard items. But the runner also finds this single block of obsidian, and while it may look fairly innocent on the surface, it's actually impossible for obsidian to spawn in a shipwreck chest. So it's pretty obvious he placed this in the chest off camera. So, after collecting all the loot from the shipwreck, the runner then begins his search for a ruined portal. And to my surprise, he actually locates it extremely quickly, which to be honest, is very suspicious. Well, do you remember at the very beginning of the speedrun when the runner faked his world generation and potentially used a set seed? Well, let's take a listen to his audio.
And next to the village, there's a ruined portal.
If you couldn't tell, the runner is clearly watching some sort of video of a Minecraft seed that has a ruins portal, which explains how he was able to locate it so fast and confirms he's using a set seed. So the runner locates the ruined portal, and here's where things get even more fake. Because even with the extra block of obsidian he found in the fake shipwreck chest, the runner ends up being just 2 blocks short of completing the portal. Well, after looting the chest and collecting some extra wood for later in the run, when the speedrunner opens up his inventory, he magically has the exact 2 pieces of obsidian that he needs. But let's rewind the footage and see what actually happened. Because if you pause the footage at this singular frame, you can actually spot a very well hidden pressure plate on this stone block. And if you play the footage, you can actually see the runner steps on it at this moment. But even with the pressure plate, how does that explain the runner collecting 2 pieces of obsidian? Well, if you go back just a little further and pause the footage at this frame, you can clearly see a dropper floating high in the sky where we can't notice it. But not only that, because you can also literally see redstone somehow magically floating in the air, providing power straight to this dropper. So if you couldn't tell, this pressure plate clearly activates the dropper, and when the runner activated it, 2 pieces of obsidian were dropped into his inventory. But my question is, how the heck did the runner manage to make the redstone float? So, after collecting 2 more pieces of obsidian from the floating dropper, the runner quickly completes the portal and spawns into the nether. Now, you probably didn't even notice it, but the speedrunner has actually just cheated once again. No, it's not the runner's inventory, inventory, as we can clearly see he has all normal items. And it isn't his game mode either, as the runner is still in survival. But if you look into the top right corner of the screen, the runner has somehow acquired a fire resistance potion, even though we clearly saw he didn't have a single one anywhere in his inventory. Well, as soon as the runner spawns in, take a good look into the bottom left corner of the screen, where you can see the faintest message of a command to give the player a potion effect. And not only does this prove the runner cut his footage while he was spawning into the nether, but this command actually proves the runner has cheats enabled, something that is clearly banned from a Minecraft speedrun. So, with a fire resistance effect applied, when the runner finally locates a fortress and starts to fight the blazes, it's very easy for him to fight them without taking damage. But let's slow down a bit, because believe it or not, the way the runner located this fortress was yet another example of cheating. Because if you play the footage, it appears as though the runner is traveling in a very specific direction, which seems slightly suspicious. Well, if you pause the footage at this exact frame, you gotta be kidding me. You can clearly see the most obvious shape of an arrow in the ground, pointing the speedrunner in the exact direction of the fortress. And the funniest part is that soul sand can't even spawn naturally at this height, meaning the runner literally just built this off camera. So, after locating the fortress with the world's most obvious arrow, the runner starts fighting the blazes and collects a couple of rods. And for the first time all speedrun, I can finally say things are actually normal, because the runner collects 7 blaze rods without a single bit of suspicious activity. But when the runner goes to check his inventory, what in the world? The runner literally has the most insane amount of blaze rods that I've seen in a Minecraft speedrun. And what's even funnier is the runner literally has so many rods that he starts getting rid of some of them to make space in his inventory. And I have absolutely zero idea how the runner pulled this off. So, the runner grabs some extra loot from a chest and starts to search for a nearby bastion. Now, you're probably expecting the runner to use some sort of arrow to point to the bastion just like he did a few minutes ago. But that actually couldn't be farther from the truth. Because instead of finding an arrow, the runner finds the Bastion Tunnel? Is this a new update that I forgot about? Well, the runner opens the door to the Bastion Tunnel, where he starts following a very long path heading straight towards the Bastion. But someone must have pranked the speedrunner, because instead of the tunnel leading directly to a bastion, it actually leads straight into a lava pool. And the runner literally dies in the speedrun. I guess that's what he deserves for cheating so terribly. Well, after the runner dies, he must be too tired to locate his nether portal again, so there is literally the world's most obvious cut, and the runner is now back in the nether with every single one of his items back in his inventory. That wasn't suspicious at all. So, after getting pranked and literally dying during the speedrun, the runner finally does something legitimate by locating a bastion using the number of entities on the F3 menu. And after locating the bastion, the runner continues to do things normally by collecting some gold blocks, turning them into ingots, where he begins to search for some piglins. But unfortunately for the speedrunner, he doesn't seem to find a single piglin anywhere in the bastion. And this is incredibly weird considering piglins will always spawn in a bastion. Well, after realizing there isn't a single piglin anywhere in the bastion, the runner does something absolutely insane, because he starts explaining in chat that there's a new Minecraft update where you can actually spawn piglins if you rename a wooden axe to piglin spawner? Okay, who is this guy fooling? This clearly won't work. Well, the runner must think this is actually real, because he actually places down an anvil and renames a wooden axe to piglin spawner. Alright, come on, this is clearly not a real Minecraft feature. Oh my gosh. Let me replay that in slow motion. The runner actually summoned a piglin out of thin air using a piglin spawner. This isn't actually a real feature, right? Well, after somehow summoning a piglin with a renamed wooden axe, the runner grabs some gold from his inventory and starts to make trades with it. And I guess I'll give the runner some credit, as every single trade that he gets is completely normal, and he collects 12 ender pearls and 10 pieces of obsidian very normally. But the speedrunner makes a huge mistake when building his nether portal to head back towards the overworlds, because he accidentally misplaces one of the blocks while building the portal. And because the runner doesn't have a diamond pickaxe, there is no way for him to mine this piece of obsidian and place it in the correct spot. Well, this is when the runner has the genius idea of quote-unquote fixing the portal with an acacia log. Okay, I've seen some crazy things in speedruns before, but I've never seen someone fix a portal with a block of wood. Well, the runner still decides to place this block in the portal, and when he goes to light it, oh my gosh. Every single frame in the portal actually lights except for the one touching the log. And I gotta be honest, I have zero idea how the runner managed to pull this off. So, after somehow lighting the portal, the runner spawns back into the overworlds, where he quickly crafts his Eyes of Ender. And using the process of triangulation, the runner begins to locate the position of the strongholds. But if you watch the footage carefully, you'll actually notice the runner starts running in the exact opposite direction, which is incredibly weird, considering the Eye of Ender will always point towards the direction of the strongholds. Well, following the other direction, the runner quickly locates a nearby village. But there's something incredibly strange about this village, because in the direct center of it, the runner finds this very strange looking structure that clearly doesn't spawn naturally. And when the runner goes up the stairs to see what it is, he finds a huge tunnel that leads directly to the strongholds. I can't take this anymore. So, the runner falls down into the stronghold, where, giving him credit, he locates the end portal room fairly normally, and the runner quickly lights the portal and spawns into the end. And honestly, when he spawns in, everything looks to be pretty normal. As the runner is in survival mode, he has completely normal items in his inventory, and the dragon still has full health. But even though it clearly shows that the Ender Dragon is still alive and well, when the runner goes to the surface, there literally is not a single Ender Dragon to be found. And after noticing this, the runner then decides to do one of the craziest things I've literally ever seen, because he makes his way towards the center of the end, where he randomly decides to pull out flint and steel, where he somehow lights the exit portal and completes the speedrun. If someone could explain how the runner did that, that would be very helpful. This next speedrun begins, and you gotta be kidding me. If you look very closely into the bottom left corner of the screen, you can see the faintest message of a player joining the world, which, if you didn't already know, actually proves the runner is playing on a multiplayer server, something that's clearly banned from a solo speedrun. And it's hilarious because the runner clearly tried to change his menu to a smaller size, hoping we wouldn't see this message in the chat. Either way, besides the runner being on a server, I guess the rest of his spawn is fairly normal, as the runner is in survival mode without any strange items in his inventory. But hold on a second, let's take a closer look at his crosshair. In a real Minecraft speedrun, you will always spawn in facing perfectly straight and parallel to the surrounding blocks. However, we can actually see this runner's crosshair is facing slightly to the left, which also means the runner has faked his world generation and could be using a set seed. The speedrun hasn't even started and this guy has already cheated twice. Well, the run begins and the speedrunner starts off by collecting some wood, crafts himself a couple of tools, where you'd then probably expect him to head into this nearby village. However, the runner instead decides to head to this very specific area of sand, where he somehow locates buried treasure. Now, it is technically possible to locate buried treasure without a map, using a process involving the Minecraft pie chart. However, I think it's pretty obvious the runner didn't use a single pie chart, and instead he simply already knew the location of this treasure, which basically confirms he's on a set seed, and that's why he faked his world generation. So, after looting the buried treasure, the runner finally decides to head into a nearby village. But as the runner is collecting some extra wood, taking a look at the right corner of the screen, where you can literally see the same player who we saw join the world, killing the iron golem in plain sight without an invisibility potion. And I think the runner realized he accidentally showed his friend, because he immediately starts running in the other direction. Well, ignoring that mistake, I guess the speedrunner actually does some fairly normal stuff, like collecting beds and crafting some bread for throughout the speedrun. But of course, when the runner goes to fight the iron golem, he's clearly already been damaged. And as a way to try to play it off, the runner starts explaining in chat that his aura has damaged the iron golem. I'm sorry, but I don't think this speedrunner has an ounce of aura after faking his world generation so terribly. Well, after killing an iron golem that's already been damaged, the runner collects his iron before starting to search for a lava pool to craft a nether portal. But let's quickly make note of the fact that at this part of the speedrun, he clearly uses all 6 ingots from the golem and buried treasure to craft an iron axe and a bucket. Anyway, the runner finally locates a lava pool where he uses his bucket and starts making the shape of a portal. But when the runner opens his inventory this time, he magically finds an extra iron ingot, even though we just saw him use all 6 to craft his bucket and iron axe. And I think it's pretty obvious the runner got this extra ingot off camera, as he forgot he needed it to craft flint and steel. So the runner finishes creating the portal, where he lights it and spawns into the nether, where he immediately begins searching for a nether fortress. But as he's searching, take a very close look at this part of the footage, because on the surface, it may look like the speedrunner's gameplay simply lagged and everything is normal. However, after this short lag spike, take a closer look at the runner's inventory, where he suddenly acquired a fire resistance potion in the 7th slot. And as we could very obviously see, this exact same slot had a wooden pickaxe just a few seconds ago. So I'm not entirely sure how, but I think the runner might have accidentally lagged on purpose so he could get the fire resistance and hoped we wouldn't notice. So after somehow getting fire resistance and locating a nether fortress, it'll be pretty easy for the runner to fight blazes without taking any damage. But before the runner can enter the fortress, what? He sees a wall with 9 empty item frames and the same player we saw damaging the iron golem standing right next to him. And with this runner clearly being confused, this player explains in chat that for the runner to enter the fortress, he must beat him in tic-tac-toe? You gotta be kidding me. Well, the runner pulls out some extra bread from their inventory and actually makes the first move, going in the direct center. However, the runner's friend counters, playing in the top left corner. And unfortunately, after a couple of moves later, the speedrunner actually loses the game, and his friend immediately pulls out a sword and starts trying to kill him. Well, the runner luckily manages to escape his friend, but he now has to locate an entirely new fortress. And thankfully, this one that he finds doesn't have tic-tac-toe at the entrance, so he drinks his fire resistance potion and starts to fight the blazes. But the runner does something extremely sneaky, which actually helps him cheat and get a few extra blaze rods. Because as the runner is fighting some of the blazes, take a closer look at this wall, where somehow you can actually see 3 blaze rods sticking to the wall. And in the chaos of fighting the blazes, the runner clearly hits these 3 rods, making them jump off the wall and straight into his inventory. So not only is this fake, as the runner is getting extra blaze rods, but how in the world did he attach blaze rods to the wall? So with 3 extra rods, the runner only needs to kill 4 blazes before he has enough to leave the fortress. But instead of searching for a bastion like a real speedrunner would, this speedrunner decides to head all the way back towards his nether portal and back into the overworld. Which is very strange, as he doesn't have any ender pearls, meaning he can't craft Eyes of Ender and can't light the end portal. Well, the runner spawns back into the overworld, where he seems to be traveling in a very specific direction, where he eventually finds a ruined bastion portal? Was this part of the new update? Well, the runner quickly pulls out his flint and steel, where he is actually able to light this bastion ruined portal. And to nobody's surprise, this ruined bastion portal actually teleports the runner straight to a bastion. So the runner spawns into the bastion, but there's something fake about it right away, because take a very close look at the loot in this bastion chest. While nearly all of the items are completely normal, one of the items is actually fake, which is actually this piece of ice, a block that clearly can't spawn naturally in a bastion chest. Well, the runner places down a crafting table, where he uses this very piece of ice as the final item in crafting freeze traps. And when he goes up towards piglins and places them down, he literally starts freezing all of them in place, not allowing them to attack him at all. Since when were freeze traps added to Minecraft? Well, with all of the piglins frozen in place, it's fairly easy for the runner to trade with them, where he starts collecting some pearls and collects obsidian. However, if you've been paying close attention, there's actually one piglin who was able to avoid all the freeze traps. But I don't think this is an actual piglin. Are you kidding me? This quote-unquote piglin is clearly just the runner's friend, and there is no way he thought we'd actually believe he was a real piglin. And the cherry on top is this quote-unquote piglin gives the runner obsidian and ender pearls in one single trade. So, after getting a bunch of items from this very real piglin, just like a normal speedrunner would, this runner decides to quickly build another portal and head back towards the overworld. And to the runner's credit, he actually seems to locate the very position of the strongholds very quickly. But this is very suspicious considering not only did the runner not use triangulation, but he hasn't even crafted a single eye of ender with his pearls. Well, to explain how the runner somehow pulled this off, let's take a listen into his audio.
Jack sent a message. The stronghold is at 7,215. 80 minus 2,585.
This speedrunner clearly received some sort of message, my guess from the person who's helped him throughout the entire run, who gave him the exact 3 coordinates of the strongholds. And now it's pretty obvious how he located it without throwing any eyes of ender. So, the runner finds the correct position, digs down, and falls into the strongholds. And giving the speedrunner the benefit of the doubt, you actually do see him get the achievement for entering into it. But at this point, I don't even think the runner cares about hiding his cheating, because you can clearly see the runner start typing a /teleport command, and the speedrunner's friend, who didn't even bother to change his skin, teleports into the stronghold and starts leading him to the end portal room. Bro, at least use an invisible potion or something. So, the runner quickly enters the end portal room, but he ends up making a huge mistake. Because right before the runner is about to finish the portal, he accidentally throws his last eye of ender instead of placing it in the last frame. And being his last eye, he now has no way of lighting the portal and spawning into the end. Well, that's until this happens. That's right, his friend not only just lit the end portal with flint and steel, but you can literally see the empty end frame without a single eye of ender in it. So how in the world they managed to pull this off, I have less than zero idea. So, after somehow lighting the portal, the speedrunner jumps in, and here's where things just get hilarious. Because instead of spawning on an obsidian platform like in a real Minecraft speedrun, this speedrunner spawns directly on the surface. And when he turns around, he finds a player standing right in front of him, very clearly the same one we saw in the nether. But not only that, because this player is holding a Rubik's Cube? Since when were these added into Minecraft? Well, this player starts to type in chat, explaining that for the runner to finish the speedrun, he must actually solve the Rubik's Cube. You gotta be kidding me. Well, this player throws the Rubik's Cube directly to the speedrunner, and he actually starts trying to solve it. But unfortunately, this speedrunner must not know how to do it, because he literally gets so angry that he throws the Rubik's Cube off the map. And because the runner didn't complete it, this player actually kills him, and the speedrun just ends there. This next speedrun begins, and there's already something incredibly fake about it. No, it's not his spawn location, as the runner is confirmed to be facing completely straight. And it doesn't have anything to do with this hotbar, as he is in survival mode with 0 XP. But let's take a very close look at this menu before the runner spawned in. If you zoom in to this specific world the runner generated just a little while ago, I want you to pay attention to this picture, which is a picture of your spawn point in that Minecraft world. So the runner clicks create new world, generates it, and prepares to begin his speedrun. But do you notice it now? This world that the speedrunner has just spawned into has the exact same spawn as the world we just saw in his game menu. And this actually proves that this spawn is a set seed, and the seed in this speedrun is the exact same as the seed in the world he's already played on. So right off the bat, the speedrunner has already cheated. Anyway, the run starts off and things are honestly pretty standard. The runner goes to a nearby tree where he collects some wood, he makes a crafting table along with a wooden pickaxe and wooden axe, and the runner quickly locates a nearby shipwreck. Now, I need you to be on very high alert when the runner is seemingly looting the shipwreck, because on the surface, every single detail about this shipwreck looks 100% normal, as the runner finds 2 chests, the very standard amount, and each chest has some loot that 100% can spawn there. However, I think the runner is trying to distract us from what is fake about this part of the speedrun, because as the runner is about to leave the shipwreck, the runner casually mines an entire iron block. And after some research, I can confirm that not a single iron block can spawn on any type of shipwreck. So if you couldn't tell, the runner clearly placed this block here himself off camera, and he tried to pretend that everything was normal so we wouldn't notice. So, after looting all of the chests and gathering an extra block of iron, the runner quickly returns to shore and locates a nearby village. And after using the iron block to craft some tools, the runner starts to attack this village's iron golem. But here's the thing. With an entire iron block, why in the world would the runner need to waste time killing the golem? Well, that's because when he finally kills it, he drops obsidian? What? Did I miss an update? And not only that, but when the runner opens his inventory, this iron golem literally dropped him 10 pieces of obsidian, the exact amount that you need to build a nether portal. But I'm genuinely confused on how this iron golem even dropped obsidian. So, the runner quickly starts creating a nether portal, and using the iron ingots from the shipwreck, he crafts a flint and steel and enters the nether. And to my surprise, his spawn into the nether is actually pretty standard, as he spawns in facing the same direction as he did in the overworld. He doesn't have any weird items in his inventory, and we can also see he gets the achievement in the bottom left corner. But let's watch closely to what happens when the runner starts searching for the nether fortress. I'll play the clip. Did you catch that? At this part of the footage, you can clearly see the runner walking on magma blocks, which are clearly blocks in Minecraft that are supposed to deal damage to you. But the runner is somehow not taking a single bit of damage, despite the fact that he also doesn't have any fire resistance. So how the runner is magically walking on these magma blocks, I have absolutely no idea. Anyway, the run continues with the runner finally locating the fortress, where after getting the achievement for entering into it, he heads into the blaze spawner room. But I'll give you a second to take a look and figure out what's fake about this room. Do you notice it? That's right. This blaze spawner room quite literally has 5 total blaze spawners. 1 in the standard location and 1 in each corner of the room. And so when the blazes finally spawn in, oh my gosh, the runner might have made a mistake. This is a ton of blazes. And just a couple of seconds later, this insane amount of blazes actually kills the speedrunner. And this leads him to come up with one of the funniest excuses that I've ever heard.
Bruh, my cat just jumped in front of my monitor so I couldn't see. That's the only reason I died.
So after that terrible excuse, the runner doesn't even try to hide his cheating, because we see that he doesn't even click the respawn button, and instead there's the world's most obvious cut and he's right back into the nether. And not only does he have all of the items in his inventory, he now suddenly has 7 blaze rods, even though we clearly saw he only killed 1 blaze in the fortress. You gotta be kidding me. Well, with 7 blaze rods, a normal speedrunner would then make their way towards a bastion in hopes of collecting ender pearls. But on his way, the runner finds the bastion maze? Nah, this isn't an update. Well, the runner opens the chest and finds a book inside, and it explains that if the runner finishes the maze, he will find a teleporter that will send him straight to a bastion. Well, the runner starts doing the maze, and he's honestly doing pretty well, until the runner turns this corner and literally falls into lava, where he quickly changes his game mode to creative, flies back up, and tries to pretend like nothing happened.
Okay, my computer just glitched, so it looks like I fell in lava, but I didn't, guys. Don't worry.
Well, after the world's most obvious fail, the runner actually manages to complete the Bastion maze, where he finds this very strange looking block in the center. And remembering what he read in the book, the runner goes on top of this block, and when he crouches, he's teleported directly into a Bastion. Alright, I'm not gonna lie, this Bastion maze was actually kinda cool. So, the runner teleports directly into the Bastion, where the runner starts looting a few of the Bastion chests and collecting some gold to trade with the piglins. But there's just one issue, because if you look at the runner's inventory, you can clearly see he doesn't have a single piece of gold armor equipped. And this is a very big problem for the speedrunner, as piglins will attack any player in the Bastion who isn't wearing gold armor. Well, this speedrunner doesn't seem too worried about it, because when he finally locates the piglins, you gotta be kidding me, he literally finds a cage of piglins trapped underground with one single trapdoor as a way to throw gold. And not only is it obvious the runner built this himself off camera, but he clearly did this so the piglins can't attack him without wearing gold armor. So, the runner opens the trapdoor, deposits a bunch of gold inside, and waits for the piglins to start trading with him. But hold on a second, did you catch that? While the runner is casually trading with these piglins, 4 ender pearls randomly appear in his hotbar. And it's obvious this is not coming from the piglins, as they are trapped underground and the runner hasn't even gone inside. So I'll just be completely honest, I have zero clue how the runner magically got 4 ender pearls. Well, after a minute or two of trading with the piglins, the runner finally manages to collect 16 pearls and 12 pieces of obsidian, where a normal speedrunner would build a nether portal and head back towards the overworld. But this speedrunner has to be messing with us, because he creates one of the goofiest looking nether portals I've literally ever seen. Has this guy ever played Minecraft before? Well, unfortunately for the speedrunner, there is no way this goofy portal will actually light. Oh my gosh. I don't even want to think about how the runner pulled that off, so we're just gonna move on. So, the runner somehow spawns back into the overworld, where he quickly crafts some Eyes of Ender, and using the process of triangulation, locates the position of the strongholds. And honestly, he digs down without any word activity, and when he falls into the strongholds, we can see he gets the achievement for entering into it. But hold on a second, this entire portion of the speedrun is actually completely fake, because at this part of the footage, take a very close look at the runner's surroundings. You can clearly see he's between 2 biomes, a plains biome and a savanna biome. However, when the runner starts to dig down, when he looks up for just a brief second, you can actually see there isn't a single savanna biome in sight. And if you play this part in very slow motion, you can actually see the smallest cut in the runner's recording. To explain it simply, this area and the area where the runner dug down in the stronghold are actually 2 completely different places. And the runner didn't actually locate the stronghold using triangulation, but when he cut his footage, he went off camera and located it with spectator mode, while he tried to pretend it was under this block the entire time. So, the runner digs down, enters the strongholds, but things honestly just get even worse. Because at a first glance, it may look like the runner gets very lucky and immediately locates the position of the ends portal room. But if you rewind the footage and take a closer look, this is also completely fake. Because along certain walls of the fortress, you'll actually notice lines of stone buttons, which I think is pretty obvious don't naturally spawn there. And if you play the footage, the runner only followed walls with these buttons all the way to the ends portal room. So I think it's pretty obvious the runner has placed these buttons himself as a way to remind him the direction the ends portal room was located. So the runner enters the ends portal room, but he runs into one slight problem, because after wasting a bunch of eyes while pretending to do triangulation, he ends up being just 1 eye short of completing the portal. But the runner then starts to explain one of the craziest things I've ever heard in a speedrun.
Alright guys, so there's a brand new update. You can now place dirt in the end portal.
Okay, I know this guy has done some crazy things so far, but there is no way dirt can light the portal. Oh my gosh! The runner just placed a literal block of dirt into the final slot of the end's portal. And that might top the list for the craziest thing I've ever seen in a speedrun. So, after somehow lighting the portal, the runner enters into the end, where if I have to give the runner some credit, things appear to be 100% normal. The Ender Dragon has full health, the runner spawns on an obsidian platform, and when he goes to the surface, all of the end's crystals are still in place. Well, I might have lied about everything being completely normal, because when the runner sees the Ender Dragon, what in the world? I don't think words can describe how goofy this Ender Dragon is. Is this an Ender Dragon with a cow skin? Well, not only that, because instead of finding Endermen in the ends like in a real speedrun, there are instead cows all over the surface. And after seeing an end dimension as cursed as this, instead of deciding to try to fight the dragon, the speedrunner instead decides to jump off the map. That was probably the better choice. This next speedrun begins with the runner spawning right next to a village. And while that could be seen as suspicious, it's actually pretty common to find a village when spawning in a plains biome. And to add on, the runner is facing perfectly straight, and he doesn't have any weird items in his inventory. However, there's one extremely tiny detail about this runner's spawn that actually proves it's fake. Because if you go back to this speedrunner's loading screen before he generated the world, tell me if you notice what setting proves this spawn was fake. Well, if you look closely at the generate structures option, you can actually see the runner accidentally switched it to off. And because the runner spawned directly next to a village, we know he cheated. And the footage of him generating his world and his spawn are actually two different clips edited together. And the runner clearly did this so he could start off right next to a village. Either way, the run begins, and things honestly feel pretty normal to me, as the runner makes his way to a nearby tree to gather some wood, makes himself a couple of tools, and heads into the nearby village. But as the runner makes his way into the village, move your focus towards the chat, where it appears as though the runner actually gets an achievement on his way in. And while that may look completely normal, this achievement actually proves the runner has cheated once again, because as you can clearly see, this achievement is called the Ice Bucket Challenge, which is actually the achievement for collecting a piece of obsidian in Minecraft. The problem is, we can clearly see the runner doesn't have a single piece of obsidian anywhere in their inventory, which actually means this achievement was obtained by a completely different player, and the runner is actually playing on a multiplayer server, something that's clearly not allowed on a solo speedrun, and remember it for later. So, the runner enters the village, where he starts off by gathering some hay to make bread and collecting a couple of beds. But, as the runner is looking at trades from some of the villagers, take a closer look into the right corner of this screen, where we can actually see what appears to be an iron golem being built out of thin air. And, if you zoom in even further, you'll actually notice these white particles floating in the air, clearly coming from the use of an invisibility potion being used. So if you couldn't tell, these particles are coming from the same person we saw get the achievement just a few seconds ago, and he's likely building a second iron golem to help out the speedrunner. And our suspicion is actually confirmed because when the runner attacks this very golem, he doesn't fight back at all, which is something that's only possible from a golem that was spawned in with blocks. So, after looting a few more chests from the village, the runner begins his search for a ruined portal. But, on his way, the runner accidentally opens his F3 menu for half a second, which accidentally reveals he's cheating once again. Because if you look into the top left corner, we can literally see the runner is using the fabric loader, a loader for Minecraft mods. This guy is terrible at cheating. So, the runner continues his search for a ruined portal, and suddenly, it appears as though he knows the exact direction one is located in. And giving him credit, he must have had a good feeling, because he actually locates one just a couple of seconds later. But, to almost nobody's surprise, the speedrunner actually cheated once again, and this part of the speedrun is completely fake. Because if you pause the footage at this frame, take a very close look at this piece of grass. Well, this type of grass grass is actually called seagrass. The problem is, this type of grass can only spawn underwater. And if you play the footage, the runner clearly digs down directly next to this grass, directly into the ruined portal room. So I think it's pretty obvious this piece of seagrass was placed by the runner's friend to remind him exactly where to dig down to locate a ruined portal. But what's even crazier is after testing in my own Minecraft world, it isn't even possible to place seagrass anywhere but inside water. So not only did the runner cheat by marking out the location of a ruined portal, I have literally no clue how he managed to place seagrass on a piece of dirt. So, the runner digs down, locates the ruined portal, and goes to loot the ruined portal chest. Now I know what you're thinking. This chest has to contain some fake items due to this speedrunner's cheating history. However, to my surprise, literally every single item in this chest is 100% normal, as the runner collects some items such as gold ingots, obsidian, and flint, all standard items. However, the items in this ruined portal chest almost seem too perfect, as if the runner is using it as a distraction to cheat in some other way. Well, my suspicion is actually confirmed, because as the runner appears to be moving items from the chest to his inventory, let's take a closer look at the portal, where we can clearly see obsidian blocks being added out of thin air. And this is clearly being built by the speedrunner's friend, the same one who built a golem for the runner just a bit earlier. And the cherry on top is after his friend placed a couple of extra blocks on the portal, the runner now of course has the exact amount of obsidian he needs to complete it. So, the runner completes the portal, lights it, and spawns into the nether. Now, you're probably expecting the runner to search for a bastion or maybe even a fortress, but the runner instead comes across the nether temple? Oh my gosh, this can't be a new update, is it? Well, the runner enters inside the nether temple and it looks absolutely insane. And of course, just like in a normal desert pyramid, when the runner breaks this block, he falls down into a room full of chests. But something must be glitched with this insane looking nether pyramid, because instead of finding some overpowered items in the chests, he instead finds a dirt block? What's going on? Well, not only does the first chest have a dirt block, but so does every single chest in the nether pyramid. And this must have really upset the speedrunner, because he starts to absolutely rage.
No, bro.
Well, after getting 4 dirt blocks from the nether temple, the runner quickly makes his way out of it before starting to search for a nether fortress. But as the speedrunner is running throughout the nether, take a very close look at his inventory, where it appears as though he has magically acquired a fire resistance potion in his very last slot. And this is incredibly suspicious, considering we clearly saw he didn't find a single potion all speedrun. Well, let's play this part of the footage in slow motion, and I want you to tell me if you notice what's fake about it. Did you catch that? As the runner is casually running throughout the nether, take a very detailed look at this block, where if you look carefully, you'll actually notice there's a pressure plate on top of it. And first off, I don't even know how that's possible, because there literally isn't even a netherrack pressure plate block in vanilla Minecraft. But secondly, as soon as we see the runner step on the pressure plate, you can actually hear the sound of a dropper go off, and a potion of fire resistance magically appears in the runner's inventory. And it's pretty obvious the runner's friend, who has been helping him cheat all speedrun, built some sort of dropper contraption to give the runner fire resistance. So, with a fire resistance potion in his inventory, the runner eventually locates a fortress, where he quickly drinks it and starts to fight some of the blazes. And thank gosh, because for the first time in the entire speedrun, something perfectly normal happens, as the runner gets the standard 1 rod per blaze that he kills, and he collects 8 rods pretty quickly. But things only get worse when the runner makes his way to a nearby bastion, because right away, when the runner opens the very first chest, he finds an iron pickaxe, which is an item that doesn't actually spawn naturally in any bastion chests. And secondly, when the runner is casually mining this gold block, if you look into the left corner of the screen, you can quite literally see the runner's friend placing gold blocks for the runner to break. And he must have given up trying to hide his cheating because he isn't even using a potion of invisibility. Well, with a bunch of extra gold blocks for the runner to mine, he quickly crafts some gold ingots and starts to trade with a group of piglins. But hold on, these piglins start giving the runner some items that are quite literally impossible. A netherite sword, diamond armor, even eyes of ender? How are the piglins giving the runner these items? Well, if we move ahead to just a minute later when the runner accidentally tabs out of Minecraft, you can literally see that the speedrunner has its mods folder open, and inside is a Minecraft mod that's called Configurable Extra Mob Drops. So if you couldn't tell, the runner is clearly using this mod to get some overpowered items from the piglins. So, with some amazing Minecraft items and enough pearls to continue with the speedrun, the runner quickly starts to build another portal and heads back to the overworld. But this is when the runner randomly decides to add in a face cam into the bottom left corner of the screen, which is incredibly odd considering he hasn't used it a single time all speedrun. Well, besides that, the runner actually locates the position of the stronghold very quickly, where after digging down, he enters it with no problem. But hold on, and let's rewind the footage, because you guessed it, the runner cheated once again. Because let's take a closer look at what happens when the runner randomly decides to add in his face cam. If you play the footage frame by frame, you'll actually notice one single frame where we can clearly see the runner use a /locate command for the strongholds. And just one frame later, the runner decided to add in his face cam. So if you couldn't tell, the runner clearly added in this random face cam to try to hide the fact that he used a /locate command. And we could all see that he cheated. So, the runner enters the strongholds, where after looting a few chests, he makes his way to the end portal room. But when he enters it, you gotta be kidding me. The same friend who we have literally seen throughout the run is waiting for him with a full set of netherite armor and an enchanted bow. Are they even trying to hide that they're cheating? So, the runner lights the portal, him and his friend jump in and spawn into the end, where everything actually looks pretty normal. The runner's in survival mode, he has his first slot selected, the dragon is at full health. Hold on, what am I saying? The runner is literally in the end with his friend during a solo speedrun. There isn't anything normal about his spawn. And when the runner goes to the surface, you can clearly see his friend just flying around and breaking all of the crystals. And not only that, but after he breaks all the crystals, the speedrunner's friend places down a chest, and inside is some of the most overpowered items in Minecraft history. And with all of this overpowered loot and 2 people, it's pretty easy for them to kill the dragon. But my question is, which one of them gets credit for beating the speedrun? This next speedrun begins, and honestly, everything looks fairly normal. The runner's selecting the very first slot in his hotbar, he doesn't have any strange items in his inventory, and we can clearly see he's in survival mode. However, do you notice what is fake about this runner spawn? Well, if you look closely, you can actually clearly see that the runner is not facing straight, but actually facing slightly to the left. In a real Minecraft speedrun, when you spawn in, you will always be facing perfectly parallel to the surrounding blocks. So because this speedrunner is clearly angled to the left, it's quite likely that the runner faked his world generation and is using a set seed. But either way, I guess the rest of the spawn does look to be fairly normal, as the runner collects some wood, makes himself a couple of tools, and starts searching for a nearby shipwreck. But not only does this speedrunner find one shipwreck, but 2, 3 shipwrecks in one single area. Now, technically speaking, there isn't a rule in Minecraft that stops shipwrecks from spawning this close to each other. However, after I literally asked ChatGPT, the odds of 3 shipwrecks spawning like this is literally over 1 in several billion, which basically confirms this is completely fake, and the runner spawned in these extra shipwrecks off camera to help with the speedrun. So, with 3 shipwrecks for the runner to loot from, he ends up finding 9 different shipwreck chests. And with this many chests, it's hard to notice if there's anything fake about the loot inside of them. However, let's move our focus to the 7th shipwreck chest the runner loots. Because inside, while the runner does find a few normal items like paper and carrots, he finds 2 extremely strange items. This block of glowstone and this singular chain. And not only are these 2 items completely fake and can't naturally spawn here, but remember them for later in the speedrun. So, after looting all 3 shipwrecks, the runner quickly makes his way to shore where he starts searching for a nearby village. And giving him credit, he actually locates it without any suspicious activity. But that's the last real thing that happens in the village. Because as soon as the runner enters inside it, he finds what? Why in the world is there a life-size Notch statue in this village? And why does he look so cursed? Well, the runner makes his way up the life-size Notch statue where he finds this very strange ladder. And of course, the runner decides to climb all the way to the top where he finds a trap door on the top of Notch's skull, and when he enters into it, he finds one of the most overpowered loot rooms in all of Minecraft. Chests with literally everything he needs to enter the nether, enough food to last the rest of his life, and even an armor stand with a full set of diamond armor. Can someone tell me which update they added the Notch room into Minecraft? Well, after the runner collects all the loot that he needs, he leaves Notch's overpowered loot room where he starts to craft his nether portal. And after lighting it with flint and steel he got from one of the chests, the runner finally makes his way into the nether. But right off the bat, there's something incredibly fake about this spawn that you probably missed. Because just a few seconds after the runner spawns into the nether, let's take a very close look at this portal. In a real Minecraft speedrun, portals generated on their own will always be the full rectangle shape. However, in this speedrun, we can actually see this nether portal doesn't have any of the corners. And this actually confirms that this nether portal was not generated naturally, but was instead built manually by the speedrunner off camera. And not only does this prove that the runner made a cut in his recording, but it's no surprise that he now spawns in right next to a fortress. So, the runner enters the nearby fortress, where after looting one of the chests inside, he begins his search for the blaze spawner room. Unfortunately, the runner simply can't seem to find one, because he instead finds 3, which have literally spawned right next to each other. And not only is it very obvious the runner built this himself off camera, but fortresses can't even spawn with more than 2 spawners in each one. So, after finding this ultra blaze spawner, the runner immediately starts to kill the blazes, where he quickly collects some blaze rods. And if I have to give him credit, everything about these blazes are actually 100% normal, as they all drop the standard 1 blaze rod per blaze. However, it's actually something the speedrunner does, which is completely fake. Because if you look into the top right corner of the screen, you can actually see the runner has magically acquired a fire resistance potion. Even though literally throughout the entire speedrun, we haven't seen him collect a single one. Well, let's replay this part of the footage, and let me know if you saw what happened. Did you catch it? Well, if you pause the footage at this frame, you can actually see both a line of string along with 2 tripwire hooks on the wall of the fortress. And immediately after the runner triggers the trap, you can literally see a fire resistance effect being applied to him in the bottom left corner. And it's pretty obvious the runner set up this tripwire to activate a commands block to give him fire resistance while he hoped we didn't notice. So, with a fire resistance effect applied, the runner keeps killing blazes and collects 7 rods pretty quickly. And with 7 blaze rods in his inventory, a normal speedrunner would then start searching for a bastion to trade with piglins and collect ender pearls. But on his way, the runner finds, what? This might be one of the funniest looking structures I've seen in Minecraft. I don't think anyone is believing this. So, the runner enters the quote-unquote nether house and doesn't find much besides this strange-looking chest with a sign on it saying magical buttons inside. And when the runner opens the chest, he does find an unnecessary amount of buttons. But come on, there is no possible way these buttons are magical. Well, while you may be thinking that these buttons are completely useless, the runner is actually about to use them to cheat, because he gathers all the magical buttons that he can from the chest before the runner heads towards this specific wall. And after placing them in a very certain pattern, the runner starts explaining in chat that he must click every single one of them to be teleported directly into a bastion. Alright, come on, there is no way this works. Clicking these buttons will do absolutely nothing. Oh my gosh! The runner is actually teleported directly into the bastion. And if someone could possibly explain how the runner just did that, I'd love to know, because I've never been more confused. So, once in the bastion, the speedrunner actually does some fairly normal things to his credit, including crafting an iron pickaxe, mining some gold blocks, and starting to trade with a few nearby piglins. But as the runner is throwing his gold at the piglins, did you catch that? Even though the runner throws a huge amount of gold on the ground, for some reason only one piglin will pick it up and trade with him. And this is incredibly weird, considering Minecraft piglins will always pick up any gold directly in front of them. So it's incredibly odd that only one of the piglins is deciding to trade with the runner. Well, this doesn't turn out to be a huge problem for the speedrunner, because the one piglin who does want to trade starts giving the runner some incredibly good items, including 16 ender pearls and 13 pieces of obsidian. And while that's definitely suspicious, I'm still more confused about how only one piglin is trading with the runner. So, after collecting all the loot that he needs, the runner uses obsidian to easily build a nether portal. And if I have to give the runner some credit, his spawn back into the overworld actually looks fairly normal. As he spawns in with the exact same angle as he was facing in the nether, he's still in survival mode without any weird items in his inventory, and he hasn't gotten any strange potion effects in the top right corner. However, just a couple of seconds after the runner spawns in, they stumble across this strange looking book on the ground. And when the runner picks it up and opens it, all that's inside is 3 different numbers, which clearly represent the coordinates of some specific location. Well, with the runner being curious, he decides to travel towards those exact coordinates. And just a little while later, oh my gosh, this is one of the craziest looking towers I've literally ever seen. And there is 0 chance this is a real vanilla structure. Well, not only is this tower insanely scary looking, but it's actually about to help the speedrunner cheat once again. Because if you look closely, notice how the bottom of each side of the tower appear to make the shape of an arrow. And after the runner notices this too, he immediately starts digging down in the exact direction of the arrow, where he lands directly into the strongholds. I don't even know what to say anymore. So, the runner enters the strongholds, and thank gosh, because things appear to be back to normal. As the runner gets the achievement for entering into it, the 2 chests that they loot contain completely standard items, and they locate the end portal room without an ounce of suspicious activity. But that's the last real thing that occurs in the speedrun, because when the runner goes to check on the portal, you gotta be kidding me. The end portal spawns with 11 eyes already in place, which if you weren't aware, has less than a 1 in 9 billion chance of happening. I don't think anyone is believing this. So, with 11 eyes in the portal, the runner literally crafts 1 single eye of ender and quickly lights the portal. But instead of spawning on an obsidian platform like in a real speedrun, he instead spawns in the direct middle of the end, which is very strange. Well, after the runner spawns in, before he starts to break the crystals or fight the dragon, the runner strangely decides to place down a crafting table. Now, do you remember near the very start of the speedrun when the runner found this block of glowstone and this chain in the shipwreck? Well, he uses those very 2 items as the final items in crafting the Evoker's Wrath. And let me tell you, this is one of the scariest weapons I've ever seen in Minecraft. Because when the runner goes to attack an enderman, he literally summons a line of stone out of the ground that goes straight towards the enderman. So, with one of the world's most overpowered and dangerous weapons, the runner makes pretty quick work of the ender dragon. This next speedrun begins with the runner spawning directly inside of a village. And while that's incredibly suspicious for sure, it's technically not impossible, so we'll let it hit slide. And apart from a very lucky spawn, everything else looks normal too, with the speedrunner clearly being in survival mode, and his crosshairs facing perfectly straight with the surrounding blocks. But hold on a second, we missed something huge. Because I'm going to play this clip of his world generation, and I want you to figure out what's fake about it. Did you catch that? Well, to help you out, I'm gonna slow down the footage and see if you notice it this time. As you can clearly see, this speedrunner actually spawns in while being in F5 mode, something that's impossible in any version of Minecraft. And just one frame later, we can see the speedrunner switch back to his normal perspective. This actually confirms that the speedrunner has made a cut in his recording, and this spawn location is completely fake. And he clearly pretended to spawn directly inside of a village to help out with the speedrun. So, the run begins with the speedrunner collecting some wood, mining some stone to craft stone tools, and heading into the village to collect some loot. But as the runner is looting this chest, take a very close look at what's happening outside of this window. Because it looks like this pig is getting damaged by absolutely nothing. And just a few seconds later, this innocent pig somehow gets killed. Well, if we move ahead 15 seconds in the speedrun, the way that this pig mysteriously died is actually revealed. Because in the bottom left corner of the screen, it looks as though the speedrunner gets the getting an upgrade achievement. However, something is clearly glitched, because we've already seen the runner get this achievement when he was crafting tools earlier in the run. Well, this isn't actually a glitch, but definite proof that this speedrunner is cheating, because this achievement is actually for an entirely different player, and the speedrunner is playing on a multiplayer server. And when this pig was getting damaged in thin air, it was actually getting damaged by the same player who got this achievement while he was using an invisibility potion. And everybody knows multiplayer servers are clearly banned from Minecraft speedruns, so not only is this completely fake, but keep this other player in mind for later in the run. So, after the runner gets all the loot he needs from this village, he starts searching for a ruins portal just like a real Minecraft speedrunner would. And he actually manages to locate one very quickly, but hold on a second. We can clearly see another player who is wearing an obsidian skin, pretending to be obsidian blocks and parts of the portal. And not only is this player clearly the same one who was killing the pig earlier, but there is no way on this planet he thinks we'd actually believe he was real obsidian blocks. Well, this speedrunner pretends to ignore his friend, where he quickly decides to loot the ruins portal chest. And while all of the items in this chest may look standard, there's one item that can't naturally spawn here, which is this singular quartz slab. And while this may seem very random and unimportant, please remember this block for later in the run. Anyway, the runner finishes looting the ruin portal chests, where after placing some blocks in the portal, his friend is still standing there pretending to be obsidian. And despite this, the runner still pulls out his flint and steel, thinking he could actually light this ruins portal. Okay, I don't care what skin this guy is wearing, this is not real obsidian. Oh my gosh! The speedrunner actually manages to light the ruins portal, despite the fact that 2 blocks are clearly missing and a player is in the way. And you know what? Credit to these players for however they figured out how to do this. So, the runner somehow lights the portal, enters it, and spawns into the nether. But these speedrunners are so incredibly careless because they accidentally reveal they have cheated once again. Because as the runner is spawning into the nether, you can clearly see his friend is still standing to the left. But as soon as the runner spawns into the nether, his friend is somehow already there in the distance. And because it's obvious that this player was still in the overworld while the runner was was spawning into the nether, the only way that his friend is already there is if the runner made a cut in his recording. So as you probably guessed, when the runner spawns in directly next to a bastion, it's pretty obvious he made a cut in his recording to simply locate a bastion off camera and build an entirely new nether portal, pretending to spawn there the entire time. So the runner quickly enters the nearby bastion, where he mines some gold, crafts some ingots, and starts to trade with some piglins nearby. But do you notice what's incredibly suspicious about this part of the speedrun? Well, if you rewind the footage to just 9 seconds earlier, you can clearly see the runner doesn't have a single piece of gold armor equipped. And as everybody knows, piglins become extremely hostile and attack any player who isn't wearing gold armor. So how in the world is the runner trading with these piglins without taking a single bit of damage? Well, if you look closely into the top right corner of the screen, for just a brief second, the player's friend runs out of invisibility and his character is revealed. And at that very moment, while he's scrolling through his inventory to try to find another invisibility potion, you can actually see that he has barrier blocks in his inventory. And on top of that, at this exact frame, while the runner is trading with these piglins, you can actually see the slightest outline of a block right in front of these mobs, which is clearly the same outline you see from a barrier block. So if you haven't caught on, this speedrunner's friend clearly built some sort of wall with barrier blocks as a way to stop the piglins from getting close to the speedrunner. And he did this because he knew that without any gold armor equipped, these piglins would immediately attack the speedrunner. They have to hide their cheating much better. So, with an entire barrier wall protecting the runner from taking a single lick of damage, the runner is of course able to collect 12 ender pearls and 10 pieces of obsidian, where a normal Minecraft speedrunner would immediately start searching for a nether fortress. But on his way, the runner comes across the magical Strider? What exactly about this Strider is so magical? Well, after placing on a saddle the runner got from earlier in the speedrun, he quickly mounts onto the magical Strider. And somehow, he is led on lava directly to a fortress. Now, I know you're probably wondering how in the world this Strider knew where a fortress was even located. And secondly, how it traveled in that direction on its own, as we saw the runner wasn't holding a fungus on a stick to control it. Well, I'm sorry to break the news, but this Strider isn't actually magical. Because if you rewind the footage to right before the runner is about to leave the bastion, you can see the same friend who's helped him throughout the run actually morph into a Strider. So this quote-unquote magical Strider is actually just the runner's friend, and that's how he was able to direct him in the exact location a fortress was located. So the runner locates the fortress, and after building up to it, he does actually get the achievement for entering the fortress. But that's the last real thing that happens in this fortress. Because watch closely to what happens when the runner is fighting the blazes in the blaze spawner room. Are you seeing this? The runner somehow gets a blaze rod drop 7 times in a row. And because a blaze has a 50% chance to drop a blaze rod upon death, the odds of getting 7 trades in a row is 0.78%, which is incredibly rare. Now, I guess it is possible that this did happen naturally, and that this speedrunner simply got very lucky. But let's take a closer look at some of the blaze rod drops. Because on the second blaze that the runner kills, notice how the blaze rod doesn't actually drop from the blaze, but instead slightly above him in the sky. And on the 6th blaze, this exact same thing happens, with the rod again clearly coming from the sky. Well, if we rewind the footage to right as the runner was entering the fortress, you can quite literally see the runner's friend drink a potion of invisibility. And the reason these blaze rods are dropping from in the air is because while the runner's friend is invisible, he's actually dropping them himself. And so no, the runner did not get incredibly lucky, but the speedrunner's friend is how he was able to get 7 rods so quickly. This cheating is terrible. So, with all the rods that he needs and 12 pearls from the bastion earlier in the run, he quickly builds another portal and prepares to spawn into the overworld. But instead of using the process of triangulation like a real speedrunner would, this runner instead decides to head to a nearby shipwreck, where he finds a fully built nether portal waiting for him to use. And if you didn't catch it, when somebody got the Ice Bucket Challenge achievement just a few seconds ago, which is the achievement for collecting obsidian in Minecraft, the runner's friend is clearly the one who got this achievement, which therefore proves he's the one who built this nether portal for the speedrunner. So, the runner decides to head into this portal, which is honestly incredibly weird, considering he already has all the items they need to enter the strongholds. Well, that's because when the runner spawns into the nether, what? He finds this insanely crazy looking nether structure. This isn't a new update, right? Well, the runner makes his way towards this structure, and after he opens this trapdoor, you gotta be kidding me. The runner finds one of the goofiest looking end portals that I've seen in Minecraft. And the only explanation for this entirely new type of building is that the speedrunner's friend must have built it off camera. So, the runner starts lighting this Timu end portal by placing eyes in the item frames, where the portal somehow manages to light. And when the runner finally spawns into the end, things actually look 100% normal. But, do you remember earlier in the speedrun when this runner found a quartz slab in the ruined portal chest? Well, he uses that very slab as one of the items in crafting the plasma bus? What in the world is the plasma bus? Well, after breaking out to the surface and destroying all of the crystals, the runner whips out this insane looking Minecraft weapon, where he literally starts shooting plasma straight at the Ender Dragon. Okay, this weapon is actually insane. But right before the runner is about to do his final piece of damage, oh my gosh, his friend comes running on the screen and steals the final kill from the runner. And being so mad that his friend just stole the spotlight from him, the runner whips out the plasma bus and starts destroying his friend. And after literally executing him, the speedrunner has no problem with jumping in the portal and completing the speedrun. This next speedrun begins, and immediately, there's already something fake about it. First off, it isn't the speedrunner's spawn, as he is facing perfectly straight. And it doesn't have anything to do with this hotbar, as he is selecting the very first slot and in survival mode. But let's watch closely to what happens when the runner generates his worlds. I'll play the clip. If you look extremely closely, you'll actually notice the runner's mouse jumps places right after he clicks Generate Worlds, which actually reveals the runner has made a cut in his recording and is potentially using a set seed off camera. Either way, the run starts out with the speedrunner collecting some stone, crafting himself a stone axe and stone pickaxe, before making his way towards a nearby village. And after collecting a few beds and gathering some hay, the runner goes to kill the village's iron golem. Now, I'm going to play this part of the speedrun, and I want you to tell me if you notice what's fake about it. Did you catch that? When the runner kills the iron golem and opens his inventory, he clearly only gets 2 iron ingots. However, literally 2 seconds later, when he opens up his inventory once again, he now somehow has 3 iron ingots. And I'll play the footage in super slow motion. There is not a single cut anywhere in this part of the recording. Now, it may seem pretty irrelevant that the runner only got 1 extra iron ingot. However, remember this trick that the runner somehow pulled off because he's gonna use it later. So, after somehow getting 3 ingots and collecting a bit of extra loot from the village, a normal speedrunner would then begin searching for a ruined portal. However, instead of running out of the village and beginning a search, this speedrunner oddly decides to dig down at this exact block. And somehow, after just a couple of seconds, he drops directly into a ruined portal room. But hold on a second, you probably missed it, but there's one detail which actually proves this part of the speedrun is completely fake. Because if you take a closer look into the left corner of the screen, you'll actually notice this single campfire. And while that may look irrelevant, a campfire can actually only spawn in two types of villages: taiga villages and snowy villages. And because the runner is clearly in a savanna village, it's literally impossible for this campfire to spawn here naturally. So if you couldn't tell, this campfire was clearly placed by the runner off camera, and he did this to remind him a ruined portal was located under these very blocks. And to add on, the only way he would have known a ruined portal was under this village is if the runner was using a set seed, which now explains why he faked his world generation at the start of the speedrun. So, the runner digs down, enters the ruined portal room, where he goes to loot the ruined portal chest. And while all of the loot in this chest could spawn here naturally, he does get a suspicious amount of very good items, including the exact amount of obsidian he needs to complete the portal. However, it's not the items in the chest that are fake, but actually the chest itself. Because right as the runner fell down into the room, notice how the lock of the chest is facing directly towards him. However, right before the runner opens the chest, this lock is now facing to the right. So, this actually proves the runner made yet another cut in his recording, and he actually placed an entirely different chest off camera. But unfortunately, the runner placed this new chest in the wrong direction, and the lock revealed that he cheated. So, the runner grabs all of his loot from the chest, completes the nether portal, and spawns into the nether. Now, there's actually one detail which reveals his spawn is completely fake. And no, it's not his game mode, as the runner is still in survival, and it isn't the direction he's facing, as he's facing the exact same way as he did in the overworld. But let's take a very close look at the wooden axe in the runner's inventory, because before the runner spawned into the nether, we can clearly see its durability was in the green range. However, when the runner spawned into the nether, this same pickaxe is now in the red range. And this actually proves the runner cut his footage once again, and he must have been using this wooden pickaxe off camera. So, when the runner stumbles across a bastion just a couple of seconds later, it's pretty obvious he used his time off camera to build an entirely new nether portal and pretends like he spawned here all along. So, the runner enters the nearby bastion, where after collecting some gold blocks and crafting himself a few ingots, he starts searching for a group of nearby piglins to trade with. But the runner then finds, what in the Temu Minecraft piglin even is this? Did he build this himself in creative mode? Well, unfortunately for the speedrunner, there is no way he will trade. Oh my gosh, he's actually making trades. And I'm not afraid to admit it. I have zero idea how this is happening. Well, after getting some pretty overpowered loot from this wish.com looking piglin, the runner then decides to locate a real group of piglins. But watch closely, because something absolutely insane happens. Because if you're paying attention, you'll notice that these piglins are trading with the speedrunner before he's thrown a single piece of gold at them. Look, they are making trades while their hands are literally empty, and we can clearly see the runner has had 10 gold the entire time. And just to brag about the fact that these piglins are trading with literally nothing, the runner decides to craft golden armor with his ingots, knowing he doesn't need to give a single one to any of the piglins. But I'm genuinely confused on how this is even happening. So, after collecting 16 pearls and 12 pieces of obsidian for completely free, a normal speedrunner would then start searching for a nether fortress. But on his way, the runner comes across this very odd looking structure, which is apparently called the Nether Merchant House. And inside, the runner finds this very strange looking nether villager who offers the runner some of the most insane trades that I've ever seen. Why is he offering an entire stack of diamonds for a single piece of bread? Does this villager not realize he's getting scammed? Well, of course, the speedrunner can't wait to take the offer, and after handing over one piece of bread, he gets 64 diamonds straight to his inventory. Can someone confirm this isn't a real vanilla structure, right? So, with an entire stack of diamonds at his disposal, a normal speedrunner would then begin searching for a nether fortress. But this is when the speedrunner starts explaining in chat that with a quick prayer, these very diamonds can actually lead him to a fortress? And let's just hear his audio.
Diamonds, I am asking you for the honor of leading me directly to wherever a fortress may be in this nether dimension.
What in the world is this guy yapping about? Well, after apparently casting a spell on these diamonds, when the runner clicks on what? They actually start flying in the air and are leading the runner directly to the fortress. But not only that, because after he clicks the diamond, a message appears with the exact distance he is away from one. And with all this information, just a minute later, the runner finds himself directly in front of a nether fortress. Okay, genuinely, I don't think I have ever been more confused in a speedrun. So, after somehow turning the diamonds magical and summoning a fortress, the runner quickly enters inside it, where after looting a few chests, he quickly locates the blaze spawner room. And thank gosh, we can finally take a breath, because the runner gets the standard 1 rod per blaze that he kills. And the runner actually collects 7 blaze rods fairly quickly without a single bit of suspicious activity. But as the runner is leaving the fortress, let's pay close attention to what happens. I'll play the clip. Did you catch that? At this part of the footage, we can clearly see the runner has 7 blaze rods in their inventory. However, literally just a couple of frames later when he opens up his inventory once again, he now somehow has another set of blaze rods right next to it. And just a couple of frames after that, he now has another set of blaze rods, giving the runner 21 blaze rods total. And if you remember earlier in the speedrun when the runner magically got another iron ingot, he's clearly using the same strategy here, and I have no idea how he's pulling it off. So, with 21 blaze rods and enough pearls from the piglins earlier, the runner quickly starts building his nether portal. But something very strange happens when the runner goes to light it, because instead of the portal being purple like in a real Minecraft speedrun, when the runner goes to light it, it actually turns green? Okay, that makes no sense. Well, the runner enters the green nether portal, and why didn't I think of this? He's teleported directly into the stronghold. I'm honestly about to give up. So, the runner enters the strongholds, and after looting a few of the chests inside, he starts searching for the end portal room. And I guess the runner doesn't even care about trying to hide his cheating anymore, because we can clearly see him typing in chat to change his game mode to spectator, where he flies through the stronghold straight to the end portal room. So, the runner enters the room, crafts his eyes and places them in the portal, and makes his way into the end. And to my surprise, there isn't a single weird thing about the runner's spawn into the end. As we can see, he spawned on an obsidian platform, the ender dragon still has full health, and the runner doesn't have any weird items in his inventory. But maybe I spoke too soon, because when the runner takes a closer look at the surface, you gotta be kidding me. This is one of the most overpowered looking ends that I've ever seen in Minecraft. Why is the surface made of diamond and all of the pillars are made of gold? And of course, after mining some of the blocks and crafting some pretty overpowered weapons, it's no surprise that the speedrunner easily destroys the ender dragon. This next speedrun begins, and honestly, things look pretty standard. The speedrunner spawns in facing completely straight and parallel with the surrounding blocks. The runner is in survival mode without a single tick of experience, and he is selecting the very first slot of his inventory without any strange items. But let's actually go back to the runner's generation screen, because there's a very obvious detail which proves this spawn is fake. Because if you look closely at this button, you can clearly see the runner had it set to creative. And because it's very obvious the runner spawned in survival mode, it's pretty clear this footage of him generating the world is completely fake. And it's very likely the runner is using a set seed. Either way, the runner spawns in, and after collecting some wood and crafting some tools, he makes his way towards a nearby shipwreck. But let's examine the loot that the runner finds in this shipwreck chest extremely closely, because on the surface, everything looks very standard, as every single item in this chest are all items that could spawn in a shipwreck. However, let's take note of the fact that this specific type of shipwreck chest is called a supply chest, which contains items such as carrots, suspicious stew, and even leather armor. But you'll also notice this chest contains iron, which is an item that can actually only spawn in a treasure chest. And this actually means that the runner placed this iron himself off camera and hoped we would think it spawned naturally in this type of shipwreck chest. So, the runner quickly finishes looting all the chests in the shipwreck before he makes his way back to shore and locates a nearby village. Now, there's one thing about this village that is so blatantly fake, chances are you completely missed it. Because if you look closely at each of the village houses, you can clearly see they are houses from a plains village. However, when you look at the biome that the speedrunner is in, he is quite clearly in a savanna biome. And so not only is this entire village completely fake, but I have no idea how the runner pulled it off. Well, the runner enters this strange village, but the cheating just doesn't stop there. Because in the very first chest that the runner loots, he finds bread, apples, the pure Arcanite longsword. Wait, what? That is one of the craziest weapons that I've literally ever seen. So, after demolishing a whole village with this insanely overpowered weapon, the run continues with the speedrunner gathering some beds and crafting some bread before locating a nearby ruins portal. And using the iron he got from the shipwreck chest, the runner quickly crafts himself some flint and steel. The only problem is, after looting the ruins portal chest, the runner ends up being just 2 blocks short of completing the portal. However, this doesn't seem to affect the runner one bit, so I'll just play the clip. Am I seeing things? We can clearly see the runner doesn't have a single block selected in his inventory, yet he seems to be magically placing blocks of obsidian out of thin air. And you can also see there isn't a single cut in the recording, and the runner is truly summoning these obsidian blocks without a single one in his hand. If someone could please try to explain how the runner is doing this, that would be extremely helpful. Well, after summoning the last 2 pieces of obsidian that he needs, the runner uses his flint and steel to quickly light the portal, where he finally spawns into the nether. But wait a second, stop the footage. This spawn is actually fake as well, because if you look closely to the angle the runner is facing before he spawns into the nether, you can very clearly see he is angled straight. However, when the runner finally spawns in, he is now facing angled down. And this actually proves his spawn was fake, because in a real Minecraft speedrun, you will always spawn into the nether facing the same way you did in the overworld. So, when the runner finds a bastion just a couple of seconds later, I think it's pretty obvious he built this portal himself off camera and made a cut in his recording. So, the runner enters the bastion, where he quickly collects all the gold that he needs and starts searching for some piglins to make trades with. But hold on a second, is that a second bastion? Now, it is technically possible for 2 bastions to spawn this close to each other, if they happen to spawn at the edges of 2 different separation zones. However, the odds of this happening is quite literally 0.09% or 1 in over 1,000 chunks. Now, I was about to give the speedrunner the benefit of the doubt, assuming he's just gotten extremely lucky. However, just a couple of seconds later, when the runner accidentally opens his chat, you can clearly see he used some sort of command that spawned in a ton of blocks, and this is pretty clearly the command he used to spawn in a second bastion. So, with 2 bastions for the runner to loot from, he quickly collects an insane amount of gold and gets a ton of loot from the piglins. And it's no surprise that he ends up getting 32 ender pearls and 20 pieces of obsidian. And with all this loot, a normal speedrunner would then begin to search for a nether fortress as a way to collect blaze rods, a very crucial item in crafting Eyes of Ender for later in the run. And after only a little bit of searching, the runner actually manages to locate one fairly quickly. But instead of finding a normal fortress, what? This is one of the scariest looking fortresses that I've literally ever seen. Why is every single block blackstone and not nether bricks? And why is there blue fire everywhere you look? Well, not only that, but when the runner finally manages to locate the blaze spawner, oh my gosh. These are the scariest looking blazes that I've ever seen in a Minecraft speedrun. What kind of cursed version is the runner even playing on? Well, the runner starts to fight these crazy looking blazes, but instead of dropping the normal blaze rods like a real blaze would, this blaze drops soul rods? I don't even know if I can keep watching. This is getting a little too spooky. Well, the runner must agree with me because he quickly decides to leave this cursed fortress and finally locates a real one. Or thank gosh, things are perfectly normal and the runner finds a fortress with some very standard looking blazes. However, just because they look much better than those scary blazes we just saw a few seconds ago, doesn't mean the speedrunner can't cheat in this part of the run. Because as the runner is innocently fighting these blazes, take a very close look at the floor, where we can actually see a crimson pressure plate that the runner clearly didn't want us to notice. And just a couple of seconds later, you can actually see the runner step on this pressure plate, which not only activates a sound, but deposits blaze rods directly into his inventory. So when the runner collects 7 blaze rods in a record-breaking 30 seconds, it's more than obvious this pressure plate was tied to a dropper, and the runner built this himself. So, with 7 rods and enough ender pearls to last a lifetime, the runner quickly builds another portal and spawns into the overworld. And after crafting some Eyes of Ender, the runner starts throwing them using a technique known as triangulation to locate the position of the stronghold. But if you actually pay attention, you'll notice that the runner isn't actually following any of the Eyes of Ender that he's throwing, which is honestly very weird, as the Eyes of Ender will always point you in the direction of the stronghold. Well, let's take a listen into his audio to figure out what's happening.
Check out this Minecraft seed. You are coming to these exact coordinates: 345, 131, 1274.
Do you remember at the very beginning of the speedrun when we suspected the runner was using a set seed? Well, you can clearly hear that the runner is watching some sort of video explaining where the stronghold is in that very seed. And that's why he isn't using triangulation, but instead cheating by watching a video with the exact stronghold's coordinates. So, after the runner follows the tutorial, he quickly locates the position of the stronghold, where he digs down and falls into it. And after looting a few chests, a normal speedrunner would then start searching for the end portal room. But when the runner finally locates it, oh my gosh, this is one of the craziest looking end portal rooms that I've ever seen. Is this a new Minecraft update? Well, not only that, but this stronghold literally comes with the portal already completely filled in, which if you weren't aware has over a 1 in 1 trillion chance of happening. So the runner jumps into the portal, spawns into the end, and things are honestly very normal. Survival mode, check. No strange items in his inventory, check. Dragon at full health. Wait a second, how is the ender dragon already at half health? And when the runner goes to the surface, why are all of the end crystals literally missing? Now, do you remember earlier in the speedrun when the runner got this extremely overpowered weapon from a village chest? Well, the runner pulls it out, and with 0 end crystals and the dragon at 50% health, he uses this weapon to easily destroy the ender dragon. This next speedrun begins with the runner spawning inside a mushroom fields biome. And while there is technically nothing fake about the spawn, the odds of spawning in a mushroom fields biome is between 1 and 2%, so it is something to look out for. Either way, the speedrun begins, and being that this biome contains no wood, the runner's only option is to start exploring around the biome. But just a couple of seconds later, the runner finds a village? Now, not only is it clearly impossible for villages to spawn in a mushroom field biome, but secondly, what type of village even is this? all the houses are made out of mushrooms. Is this a brand new update? Well, the runner enters one of the houses in this village, and things only get more cursed. Because not only does he find a chest with some pretty good items, including obsidian and wood planks to craft tools with, but he finds an armor stand with mushroom armor? Last time I checked, this wasn't a type of armor in vanilla Minecraft. Well, after looting a few more chests in this mushroom village, the runner explains in chat that he wants to find a ruined portal. The problem is, the odds of finding a ruined portal in a mushroom fields biome are extremely low, and to be exact, less than 0.02%. So with the runner being in this biome, how in the world is he supposed to locate a ruined portal? Well, the runner decides to use some sticks and some string he got from one of the village chests to craft a fishing rod, and during a timed Minecraft speedrun, throws his rod into the water and appears to be looking for fish. He does realize this is a speedrun, right? Well, after only a couple of seconds in the water, when the runner pulls his rod out, what? Did he just fish out an ender pearl? How is that even possible? It's quite literally a 0% chance to get an ender pearl from fishing. But it gets even crazier, because this isn't actually your ordinary ender pearl. Because when the runner opens his inventory, it's called the ruined portal pearl. Was this part of the new update? Well, the runner grabs the ruined portal pearl, where for some reason, he decides to throw it straight up in the air, meaning the pearl will clearly land in the exact same spot he's already standing. But when the pearl lands, what? He is somehow teleported into a beach biome right in front of a ruined portal. And I don't even know how that's possible, but this ruined portal pearl might be one of the craziest items I've ever seen. So, the runner is teleported directly in front of a ruined portal, where he goes to loot this chest like any normal speedrunner. And to my surprise, all of the loot in this ruined portal chest is actually completely standard, as all the items he finds inside do spawn there naturally. But there's one detail about this specific ruined portal that's actually incredibly fake. And to understand it, it's first important to note that this type of ruined portal is known as Portal_9. And one very key detail about this type of portal is that it always spawns with 11 pieces of obsidian. However, if you actually pause the footage and count each individual block, you'll notice that the portal actually has 12 pieces of obsidian. And because the runner got one single piece of obsidian from the mushroom village, he just so happens to have the exact amount he needs to complete the portal. So I think it's incredibly obvious that the speedrunner added an extra block of obsidian off camera, but unfortunately, I noticed that it was version Portal_9 and I caught us cheating. So the runner completes the portal, lights it, and spawns into the nether. Now, there is something so obviously fake about his spawn that it's actually very likely you missed it. And no, it doesn't have anything to do with his inventory, as the runner hasn't gotten any overpowered items. And don't worry, it's not any potion effects either, as the runner has not magically gained fire resistance. But let's take a very close look at the speedrunner's hands before he spawns into the nether. Got it? So the runner lights the portal, spawns in, but now look at his fist. The runner is quite literally wearing an entirely different skin. And because it's impossible to change your Minecraft skin while being in game, the only possible explanation is that the speedrunner has actually cut his footage, and it's possible that he's playing on an entirely new Minecraft version. And make sure you remember that, because it'll be important later in the speedrun. So, the runner spawns into the nether, where if I have to give him credit, he does locate the nether fortress without a single ounce of suspicious activity. But as the runner is searching for a fortress chest, what in the world? Wait, is that a woodland mansion? In the nether? How is that even possible? Woodland mansions can only spawn in the overworld. Well, the speedrunner must also be amazed by this woodland mansion, reason? Because he immediately leaves the fortress and travels directly inside of it. But unlike a normal woodland mansion, which clearly doesn't have any blaze spawners, this speedrunner finds an entire blaze spawner room in the mansion. But not only that, because the entire room already has fire resistance particles in the air, meaning the speedrunner doesn't have to worry about taking a single tick of damage from any of the blazes. But I'll just be honest, I'm more shocked about how in the world a woodland mansion spawned in the nether. Well, after collecting 7 blaze rods in a woodland mansion, the speedrunner oddly decides to head back to the fortress. And this is very weird, considering the speedrunner already has 7 blaze rods, and any normal speedrunner would immediately start searching for a bastion. Well, that's because when the runner re-enters the fortress, what in the world? Is that a breeze spawner? Well, for those of you who aren't aware, a breeze is a brand new mob which was added in Minecraft 1.21, and they literally only spawn in the overworld. So how in the world is there a breeze spawner in the fortress? Well, the runner starts killing some of the breezes, where he specifically collects 2 breeze rods. And after placing down a crafting table, he uses these 2 rods as the final items in crafting the Abyss Terror? Is this a new Minecraft item? Now, do you remember earlier when the speedrunner's skin completely switched, and we guessed that the runner actually changed his game version? Well, I think it's pretty obvious he did that so he could collect breeze rods, an item that was added to the most recent version of Minecraft. And with that, let's see what this Abyss Terror weapon can actually do. That might be one of the craziest weapons I've ever seen. So, after destroying an unnecessary amount of blazes and collecting 7 rods, the speedrunner finally decides to start searching for a bastion. And on the surface, it may appear as though the runner locates one completely normally. As we saw, he didn't use a /locate command or any special type of ender pearl. But for a brief second at this part of the footage, the speedrunner accidentally reveals some of his tabs he has open. And along with Minecraft, YouTube, and the McDonald's website, he also has a website open called the Bastion Remnant Finder. And after navigating to this exact same website myself, you can literally see that all you need to do is enter your seed and game version, and it will give you the coordinates of every single bastion in that Minecraft world. And my guess is that while the speedrunner cut his footage and changed his game version earlier in the run, he also used his time off camera to navigate to this website and enter the seed of his Minecraft world to locate the exact coordinates of the bastion. And that also explains why he had his F3 menu open, as he was clearly traveling in the exact same coordinates he found on the Bastion Finder website. So, the runner enters the bastion, and for probably the first time all speedrun, something is completely normal, as the runner mines some gold blocks, turns them into ingots, and begins to search for some piglins to trade with. But unfortunately, this speedrunner simply can't seem to find a single piglin anywhere in the bastion. Well, I actually might have lied, because he does actually find a piglin flying on a platform being held by a ghast? Okay, this might be one of the coolest looking mobs that I've literally ever seen. Well, the speedrunner sees this insane looking mob, but I don't think it's friendly, because along with the ghast shooting fireballs, the piglin starts firing TNT from his very own TNT cannon, and the speedrunner is left with no choice but to try to escape. Now, with all of that chaos and one of the craziest looking mobs in Minecraft history, you probably didn't even notice that the speedrunner just cheated, because if you look at the runner's inventory, he suddenly acquired 16 ender pearls and 12 pieces of obsidian, despite the fact that we clearly saw the runner didn't trade with this piglin. Well, at this part of the footage, you can actually see that the speedrunner notices a basalt pressure plate, which first off, isn't even a real type of pressure plate in Minecraft. But secondly, right after the runner steps on this pressure plate, we can clearly see a command in the bottom left corner, which gives the speedrunner his items. So I actually think the speedrunner purposely used this insane looking mob as a distraction so he could step on the pressure plate and get the pearls and obsidian while he thought we weren't looking. So the runner quickly starts building his nether portal, lights it, and spawns back into the overworld. But instead of using the process of triangulation like a real Minecraft speedrunner would, this runner instead makes his way towards this nearby village. Strange. Well, it seems as though the runner wants to enter this specific village house, where he immediately notices a lever on the wall. Now, this is already very suspicious, considering this type of village house does not actually spawn naturally with a lever inside of it. Well, either way, the runner goes to the lever, and when he flips it, what? He somehow reveals the stronghold. But wait a second, earlier in the speedrun, we saw the back of this exact same village house, and I think it's pretty obvious there wasn't a single stronghold there. And wait a second, the stronghold is underground. This village house is clearly above ground. So if somebody can please explain how the runner just walked straight into the stronghold, that would be extremely helpful. So the runner somehow enters the stronghold, where he quickly locates the end portal room and lights the end portal. And when the runner finally spawns into the end, things honestly seem pretty normal, as the runner is in survival mode with the exact same items he had in the overworld, and the ender dragon appears to have all of his health still intact. But this speedrunner is about to do something quite literally impossible, because first off, he magically equips 2 bow and arrows, even though we clearly saw he hasn't had a single bow and arrow anywhere in the speedrun. But secondly, he holds 1 bow and arrow in each hand and somehow manages to shoot both of them at the same time, which after doing some testing in my own Minecraft world isn't even possible. So how is the runner shooting both of these at the same time? Well, with 2 bows and therefore double the power, I don't think anybody's surprised that the runner quickly breaks all the crystals and also absolutely destroys the ender dragon. This next speedrun begins, and come on dude, seriously? If you look into the bottom left corner of the screen, you can clearly see the message of the player changing his game mode to survival. And this one message actually reveals the runner cheated twice. Because first, if he changed his game mode to survival, it actually means that he was in creative mode beforehand. And secondly, because we saw the runner didn't have creative mode selected on his world generation screen, it also means his spawn is completely fake. So it is very likely that this speedrunner is using a set seed. However, giving the runner the benefit of the doubt, the rest of his spawn does look fairly normal, with the runner in survival mode and he doesn't have any XP. And he also spawned in facing perfectly straight and parallel with the surrounding blocks. But the runner can't stop cheating when he locates a nearby village. Because let's take a look at the loot in this village chest. Now, the loot itself is actually 100% legit, as all of these items can spawn here naturally. But you can also clearly see the iron sword in this chest has already been used, and it's lost half its durability, meaning the runner clearly used this sword off camera and placed it in the chest himself. But that isn't even the most obvious cheat he's done in this village. Because look, this village house doesn't even have a door. So of course, when he goes to loot the chest in this village house, he finds a ton of obsidian, a block that can only spawn naturally in a blacksmith, which is clearly not the village house he's in. And I don't want to be mean, but this might be one of the worst cheaters I've ever seen. Well, with enough obsidian from the chests, you're probably expecting the runner to simply build a nether portal and spawn into the nether. But for some reason, this speedrunner decides to start looking for a ruined portal. Does this guy not understand he already has all the obsidian that he needs? Well, this speedrunner might be smarter than I thought, because he immediately starts typing in chat /fly. Okay, no way that works. Oh my gosh, the runner starts flying in vanilla Minecraft, and with flight enabled, he's able to fly extremely quickly straight to a ruined portal, and this allows him to save all of his obsidian for later in the speedrun. But genuinely, how did the runner just fly in survival Minecraft? So, the runner locates the ruined portal, where he first decides to loot the ruined portal chest. But come on, he's gotta be more careful than that, because if you look a little closer at this ruined portal chest, you can see a very visible red outline around the lock, which, if you weren't aware, actually means this chest is a trap chest, not a real chest. And trap chests clearly don't spawn naturally here, meaning the runner simply placed this chest himself off camera. So I don't think anybody's surprised when the runner finds a bunch of overpowered items in this ruined portal chest. So the runner grabs all the loot from the ruined portal chest, where he quickly finishes building the portal and spawns into the nether. But the runner then does something incredibly strange, because instead of starting to search for a fortress or a bastion in the nether, the runner instead decides to head back to his portal and spawn in the overworld. Very weird. Well, once in the overworld, the runner quite literally moves a couple of blocks to the right before he builds a brand new nether portal. Why is he doing this? Well, after lighting the brand new nether portal and spawning into the nether this time... Wait, what? He spawns in directly next to a fortress. But hold on a second. This is literally impossible, because in Minecraft, 1 block in the nether represents 8 blocks in the overworld. And because we saw the runner build his new portal only 4 blocks to the right, this means the runner's new spawn should only be half a block away from his old spawn. But as we clearly saw, these 2 portals are in 2 completely different locations. So the only explanation is that the speedrunner made a cut in his recording and built a different portal off camera to make it look like he spawned in front of a fortress. So the runner enters the nether fortress, and everything actually does look pretty normal at a first glance, as the runner loots a few of the fortress chests and makes his way to the blaze spawner room. But wait a second, since when did the runner get a potion of fire resistance? Because literally less than 1 minute ago, it was very obvious he didn't have a single one anywhere in his inventory. Well, the speedrunner has actually made a cut in his recording that was done so well, the only way to notice it is if you take a listen into his audio. I'll play the clip.
This is the scariest thing. This is 100% real.
Did you catch that? Well, if you listen closely, you can actually hear the audio of the video the runner is watching completely jump places.
This is the scariest thing. This is 100% real.
And just to confirm there was a cut even further, if you put this speedrunner's audio into an editing software, you can clearly see an unnatural change at the exact point where the runner cut his footage. So it's more than obvious that for the runner to get this potion of fire resistance, the runner made a very sneaky cut in his recording where he went in creative mode and got it off camera. So with a fire resistance effect applied, it's pretty easy for the runner to fight blazes without taking any damage. And for the first time in the entire speedrun, things are actually normal, with the runner collecting 7 blaze rods without any suspicious activity. But instead of leaving the fortress after collecting these rods, the runner instead decides to continue to fight the blazes. And this is incredibly suspicious, as any normal speedrunner would immediately stop fighting blazes after getting 7 blaze rods. But this runner continues to fight them until he has 10 rods, and remember this for later. So after collecting more blaze rods than necessary, the runner finally leaves the fortress and starts searching for a nearby bastion. And at a first glance, it may look like the runner simply gets incredibly lucky, finding a bastion almost immediately. However, if you take a closer look at this part of the speedrun, you'll actually realize he's cheated once again. Because if you pause the footage at this very frame, take a close look at this item. This is a crimson fungus, an item that does spawn naturally in the nether. But the crimson fungus only spawns in one specific biome, which is actually the crimson forest biome. But as you can clearly see, the runner is in a nether wastes biome, not a crimson forest, which means it's literally impossible for crimson fungus to spawn here naturally. And if you play the footage, you'll notice the runner followed these crimson fungus all the way to the bastion. And because crimson fungus can't spawn in this biome naturally, I think it's it's obvious the runner placed them himself off camera to remind him the exact path to follow to locate the bastion. So, the runner enters the bastion, but the cheating doesn't stop there, because I want you to watch this clip and tell me what's fake about it. Did you catch that? You can clearly see that the speedrunner is mining this gold block with a stone pickaxe. But in Minecraft, the only way to collect a gold block is use an iron pickaxe or better. So can someone please explain how the runner just collected this block with a stone pickaxe? Well, after somehow collecting these blocks, the runner crafts some gold ingots and starts to search for some piglins to trade with. But instead of finding a group of piglins like a real speedrunner would, this runner instead finds zombified pigmins? And while they are incredibly similar, everybody knows that you can't make any trades with these mobs. Well, this speedrunner must not know that, because he actually decides to start throwing gold at the group. Is this guy serious? Oh my gosh! The zombified pigments actually pick up the gold and start trading with the speedrunner. And honestly, how is this happening? Well, not only is the runner somehow trading with zombified pigments, but they actually give the runners some impossibly good trades, including 16 ender pearls and 16 blocks of obsidian from 45 gold ingots, which, after some extremely complicated calculations made by ChatGPT, has less than a 0.0000000000322% chance of happening, which makes this random speedrunner literally more lucky than Dream. So, after not only getting impossible trades but getting them from zombified pigments, the runner quickly builds his nether portal and heads back towards the overworld, where he quickly crafts his Eyes of Ender, and using the process of triangulation, starts searching for the position of the strongholds. But on his way, the runner finds this extremely strange looking structure, which looks to be some sort of strange portal that has an item frame on every single block. Well, do you remember earlier in the speedrun when the runner purposely collected extra blaze rods? Well, this means that the speedrunner has a bunch of extra Eyes of Ender in his inventory, and the runner starts placing his spare Eyes of Ender in each of the item frames. And when the runner goes to place his final eye, oh my gosh, this strange looking portal actually manages to light. And not only that, but why does the portal look green? This is actually insane. Well, of course, the runner gets curious and decides to enter this strange looking portal, where he ends up spawning directly into the strongholds. You gotta be kidding me. So, the runner spawns into the strongholds, and after looting a few chests, he makes his way to the end portal room. And if you thought this speedrunner wasn't already lucky enough, he ends up with the exact amount of eyes he needs to complete the end portal. Seriously? So, the runner jumps in the portal, spawns into the end, and let's check and see if anything is fake. Dragon at full health, seems to be good. The runner is still in survival mode, also a check. The end not being completely built out of TNT. Uh-oh, this might be one of the most dangerous end dimensions that I've literally ever seen. And on top of that, this speedrunner might be one of the dumbest players I've ever seen. Because in a dimension with TNT literally everywhere, the speedrunner has the bright idea of fighting the Ender Dragon with flint and steel. Is this guy like actually serious? And of course, while trying to kill the Ender Dragon, the runner actually lights off a piece of TNT. Yeah, I think his game might have froze. I don't think he's beating this speedrun. This next speedrun begins, but there's already something fake about the world generation. No, it isn't his menu, as we can clearly see the runner has his game mode set to survival. And it isn't even the spawn itself, as we can also see the runner is facing perfectly straight. But let's watch closely to what happens when the runner clicks Create New Worlds. Did you catch that? In a real Minecraft speedrun, the number above this gray box will always start at 0%. However, in this speedrun, right after the runner clicks Generate Worlds, the number immediately started at 2%. And this actually confirms that there was some sort of cut in the runner's recording, and it's incredibly likely that he is using a set seed. Well, besides the suspicious world generation, I guess everything else could be seen as normal, with the runner collecting collecting some wood, crafting a few tools, and heading towards a nearby shipwreck. And on the surface, this shipwreck actually appears to be 100% normal, and the runner quickly makes his way inside of it. But the way the runner located this shipwreck was actually completely fake. Because at this part of the footage, take note of this random email notification in the bottom left corner. And while this may seem incredibly ordinary, it's actually how the speedrunner was able to cheat. Because this notification is conveniently in the exact same spot that commands are displayed in Minecraft. And if you play this part of the footage frame by frame, there's actually one single frame where you can see the runner used a /locate command for the shipwreck. So if you couldn't tell, the runner clearly tried using this notification as a way to hide the fact that he used a /locate command for the shipwreck. So, the runner enters the shipwreck, and all 3 chests that he loots actually contain fairly standard items. And after collecting all of his loot, the runner quickly leaves the shipwreck before locating a nearby desert village. But let's watch closely to what happens when the runner first enters this village. I'll play the clip. Did you catch that? As the speedrunner is making his way inside of the village, you can actually see this villager teleport places. And this could only be explained by the speedrunner making yet another cut in his recording. So, when the runner opens this village chest and finds fire resistance, which is an item that can't naturally spawn there, it's pretty obvious the runner cut his footage so he could go off camera and place it in the chest himself. But he clearly should have been more careful while cutting his video, as I think it's pretty obvious villagers can't teleport. So, after collecting some beds and gathering some hay to craft bread, the runner quickly makes his way to a nearby ruins portal. And honestly, the loot in this ruin portal chest is actually completely normal, and the runner completes the portal without any issues. However, when the speedrunner goes to open his inventory, he realizes that he's forgot to grab a piece of flint, meaning he can't craft flint and steel and therefore can't light the portal. And to add on, the runner is currently in a desert biome, a biome where it's actually pretty rare to find gravel blocks. Well, the runner starts mining this random stone brick, and what? A single flint somehow pops out of this block. And if you didn't already know, flint can actually only spawn naturally inside blocks of gravel. So I have absolutely zero idea how the runner just got some from a stone brick. Well, after somehow collecting a piece of flint, the runner quickly crafts flint and steel, lights the portal, and spawns into the nether, where this speedrunner gets incredibly lucky, literally spawning in blocks away from a bastion. But hold on a second, there's one very obvious detail about his spawn into the nether that reveals he's cheated yet again. Because right before the runner entered the nether portal, you can clearly see he's holding his axe in his left hand, and the flint and steel he used to light the portal in his right hand. However, immediately after the runner spawns in, the axe is in his right hand and the flint and steel is in the left hand, which is completely opposite of what he had in the overworld. And because it's clearly impossible to change hands while spawning into a new dimension, I think it's very clear that the speedrunner has cut his footage. And it's very likely that he actually went off camera and built an entirely new nether portal, all to make it look like he spawned right in front of this bastion. So, the runner enters the bastion, and after the usual of mining some gold and crafting some ingots, the runner starts to trade with piglins just like any normal speedrunner would. But unlike a normal speedrunner, this player actually gets dream level luck with his trades, because with only 32 gold ingots, he manages to collect 12 ender pearls and 10 pieces of obsidian. And with each of these items having an incredibly low chance of being traded, this part of the speedrun is definitely suspicious. Well, let's take a closer look at this speedrunner's fist. Do you notice it? Well, if you rewind the footage to right before the speedrunner started throwing his gold, you can very clearly see that this speedrunner's hand is very thick, clearly showing us that he's using the wide skin option. However, just a couple of seconds later, if you look at the very same fist, it's now much skinnier and clearly the slim version of the skin. And because it's actually impossible to change your skin mid-game, this reveals the runner has made yet another cut in his recording. And it's pretty obvious that while the speedrunner was off camera, he went into his game files and changed the loot drops of these piglins. And now it makes sense how he was able to get a bunch of overpowered trades from them. So, the runner leaves the bastion and begins to search for a nether fortress. But as the runner is casually traveling throughout the nether, do you notice that? At this part of the footage, we can clearly see that the speedrunner is in a soul sand valley biome. And this of course means that most of the blocks that he runs on are going to be soul sand. But somehow, despite walking directly on top of soul sand blocks, this speedrunner's speed is completely normal, which is basically impossible, as soul sand will always slow you down when you're running on it. And to add on, this speedrunner doesn't have a single potion or wearing any armor with enchantments, so how in the world is he sprinting directly on soul sand? But things don't stop there, because at this part of the footage, the runner literally walks straight through fire, and even though he doesn't have a single potion of fire resistance, he somehow doesn't take a single lick of damage. And I'll be honest, I have no idea how the runner is defying multiple Minecraft rules. So, after some sorcery in the Soul Sand Valley, the runner eventually locates a nether fortress. But what in the world? This might be the world's most overpowered nether fortress. This can't be a part of the new update, right? Well, the runner makes his way inside of the Amethyst Fortress, and after he drinks his potion of fire resistance, things couldn't get more overpowered, because every single one of the blazes are somehow made completely of emeralds. And you guessed it, when the runner goes to kill one, he drops emeralds for the speedrunner. This is absolutely insane. Now, while this fortress is clearly insanely overpowered, it actually gives the speedrunner one massive problem, because due to the fact that these blazes only drop emeralds, how is the runner supposed to get blaze rods? Well, the runner makes his way up to a nearby zombie pigman, and when he clicks on it, what? First off, the zombie pigman having a trade menu is quite simply impossible, as villagers are the only mob in Minecraft who can do this. But secondly, this zombie pigman is offering the speedrunner the exact trade that he needs, giving one blaze rod for every emerald he gives. And of course, because the runner collected 7 emeralds from the emeralds blazes, he now has the exact amount of blaze rods he needs to complete the speedrun. How is this possible? So, with 12 ender pearls and 7 blaze rods, the runner quickly starts building his nether portal and spawns back into the overworld, where a normal speedrunner would craft his eyes of ender and use a process of triangulation to locate the position of the stronghold. But this speedrunner decides to not only skip crafting any eyes of ender, but he instead heads straight to a nearby village. Interesting. So, the runner enters the village, and it may look like he's simply collecting some extra beds for later in the speedrun. But just watch this part of the footage. Am I seeing things? While the runner goes to mine some extra wood, when he turns around, he finds a random end portal in the middle of a village. And not only is it clearly impossible for an end portal to spawn here, but literally 5 seconds ago, this exact same area was completely empty. And if you play the clip, the speedrunner doesn't make a single cut anywhere in his recording. So how this end portal just magically appeared? Sadly, I couldn't tell you. So, the runner lights this village end portal where he spawns into the end, and things honestly look pretty standard. He doesn't have any weird items in his inventory, and the ender dragon is still at full health. But if you look into the top right corner of the screen, you'll notice the speedrunner has randomly decided to add in a face cam, which is very bizarre, considering he hasn't used one all speedrun. Anyway, the runner begins his time in the end by building over to the surface, where he starts to break a few of the crystals. But as the runner is shooting arrows at the ender dragon, did you catch that? Even though this is a completely standard bow without a single enchantment, his bow bow is doing an insane amount of damage. Far more damage than what a bow should normally do in Minecraft. Well, just a couple of seconds later, after doing an insane amount of damage to the dragon, the speedrunner accidentally opens his chat for a brief second, where he actually reveals a single command that he typed in, which gave the runner a strength effect. And if you remember the speedrunner randomly adding in this face cam as soon as he got into the end, it's pretty obvious he did this as a way to hide the fact that he has a strength effect in the top right corner. Well, with an insanely strong strength effect applied and some pretty decent aim with his bow and arrow, the speedrunner quickly destroys the what? He literally gets launched into the air and dies to fall damage. I guess that's what he deserves for cheating. Click on screen for more hilariously fake Minecraft speedruns.